Now I am going to use some models to show you why we call this simplest form. So yesterday when you added 1/6 plus one more sixth, you should have gotten 2/6. As you looked through this checklist, you should have seen that 2 and 6 are both even numbers. So you were able to divide your top and bottom by 2 and come out with 1/3 for your final answer. Why does that work? Why is it simplest? Well, take a look. 2/6 has two pieces rolling around here. It is easier to talk about this amount as 1/3 than it is as 2/6 for a couple of reasons. Really, you can envision one whole thing divided into 3 equal pieces much better than you can picture in your head this whole thing divided into 6 equal pieces. And also, the fewer pieces that you have lying around, the simpler your job is. So it's simplest form to say 1/3, not 2/6. What about 8/8? Well, again, hopefully you could have looked and said, wait a minute, the top number is not smaller than the bottom number. In fact, there are 8 pieces and I have all 8 of them. So, simplest form is 1. Why is that simpler? Well, if I have 8 1/8 pieces rolling around here, it gets rather crowded. True? It's much easier to say, no. I have one whole bar, not just these 8 little eighths. What about 5/9? They're not even numbers. 5 times nothing equals 9. 3 times nothing equals 5. 7 times nothing equals either one of them. 9 times nothing equals 5. There is no common factor. There is no number that I can divide both of them by. 5/9 is already in simplest form. What about 6/7? I mentioned to you earlier, if the top number is 1 less than the denominator, you have simplest form. What about 4/6? Well, 4 times nothing equals 6, but they are both even. I can divide them both by 2 and end up with 2/3 for my final answer. That is simplest form. Why? Well, let's see here. 2/3 or 4/6. Which one's going to make more of a mess if I drop them on the floor? 4/6, right? Now, mind you, they do show the same amount. So this dividing by 2 is taking my 4/6 and putting them in groups of 2, which is why the math matches the pictures. So 4/6, divide top and bottom by 2, put them in groups of 2, and I have 2/3. 7/10 is already in simplest form. Anytime they're both even numbers, it makes life lots easier. With a 7 on the top, I'm going to immediately skip and say 7 times nothing equals 10. I know 3 times nothing is 7. 5 times nothing is 7. This is in simplest form. What about 4/8? The questions, does the top number times anything equal the bottom number? Sure thing. So I can divide both of them by 4, and I end up with 1/2. Can I prove that? Well, let's see. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. But if I put those 4/8 into that group of 4, I have one group of 4, it would take 2 of those groups to make a whole thing. So 1/2 is the simpler form of 4/8. So that's my final answer. 4/4. Hopefully you recognize that pretty quickly. They are the same number on top and bottom. Your numerator is not smaller than your denominator. Since they are exactly the same number, I have a whole amount. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 is exactly the same as one whole item. It was split into 4 pieces, but then I took all 4 of those pieces together. 9/9, I shouldn't need to show you that. It's exactly the same thing. 1/3 here was in simplest form. Now we are going to see why they had a 4 here. 9/12 is not simplest form. Perhaps you overlooked this one. If you did, pause for a moment and go down through these questions and see what common factor that you can divide them by. Now I'll show you. They're not even, so it's not 2. I can divide both of them by 3. What number times 3 equals 9? Well, that would be a 3. What number times 3 equals 12? That would be a 4. They gave me 4ths as my answer. This would explain why. In simplest form, 9/12 is 3/4. So the unknown as it was written first is a 3. 7/10 is in simplest form. So now we go on to your homework assignment today. So today, remember a couple of things. When you are adding fractions, the denominator, the bottom number, tells you the size of the pieces. If you look at all of the problems that it gives you for today, you will notice all of the pieces that you are dealing with are exactly the same size. So then all you need to do is figure out how many total pieces you have when they are that size. The size of the pieces will never change, so your denominator will never change. You do change the amount of pieces that you have. So you had 7 of these pieces. You have 2 more of those pieces, so you have a total of 9 of those pieces. But now today, the next step is you need to look at your final answer. Before you can circle it, you need to simplify your final answer. I will tell you there are 1, 2, 3. You must simplify 3. Only 3 need simplified. That should help. So once you get to that final answer, you should have this sticky note. Go down through each of these questions. If it can't be simplified, circle your answer to the addition. If it can be simplified, you must show what you are dividing by. So you must show that you divided your numerator and denominator by the same factor. When you get to your final answer, circle it. Now, if you end up with the same number on top and bottom, that one's obvious. You don't need to show me what you're dividing by. Page 623, showing your simplification and circling your final answer, is your homework for today.